Well, thank you everyone for attending. If you haven't logged in for attendance, I really appreciate that you do. There's several ways to do that. The easiest is you just tell me and write it down. The other one is we have an online form. There's some QR codes on the table there. You can do it from your phone. You can do it online. The attendance sign-in electronically is only open the day of the meeting. So those attendance numbers will help us in our CPG reauthorization at the end of the year. And I'll have more on that, more information on that. But yeah, if you haven't been logged in or you haven't logged into the website, if you go to the website, you'll see it under meetings. It'll say sign in. It's really just put your name in there. You can even put in the made-up name if you want. There's one already. Thank you. At this point, open the meeting with an opening reflection. Last week, Molly read this. This is an abbreviated version for us. And I'd also like to state, if anyone would like to do a reflection for the opening of our meeting, please let me know. We'd love to have your poetry out there. So as we gather here today, let us reflect on our shared vision for Normal Heights, honoring the unceded Kumeyaay land and embracing principles of inclusivity, equity, and the well-being of all inhabitants. We strive for a vibrant and sustainable neighborhood through pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, open space preservation, affordable housing, and responsible economic development. In our discussions, we may foster collaboration, respect, and care, recognizing our interconnectedness with one another and the natural world. Together, as stewards of the land, we can build a resilient community that celebrates diversity, strengthens connections, and provides for future generations. Welcome. At this point, I think we'll go around and introduce the board members. I'd like to do a little bit of a mix up here. You don't have to say you're a renter, homeowner, business owner. Just, you're a resident, you live here, you're a person, a human being, and maybe how long you've been in the neighborhood. I'll start. I'm Paul Coogan. My pronouns are he and him, and just recently started as the chair as of, I think, April. Lived in the neighborhood since 2010, so I'm new to San Diego.
I'm Alan Hartzler. I'm the vice chair right now. Let's see, I've been in the neighborhood for 8 years.
I'm Taylor Average, human being. I live in Normal Heights and been here for a while. Not long. Yeah, Craig Stone, been in the neighborhood for 3 years.
I'm Lynn Cleveland, Normal Heights, born and raised, and
Nancy Waller, and I've been in the same apartment since 1974. Resident, manager.
Hello, Jim Ross, resident homeowner, been in Normal Heights since 1985. Formerly lived in Kensington, but don't hold it against me.
Loop around the end.
Scott Kessler, I'm the executive director of the Adams Avenue Association, representing the ABA. I've worked on the Adams Avenue off since 1989.
Francis Bridget, I'm a resident of 1990.
Hi, I'm Emily Colwell, resident in Normal Heights for 7 years and San Diego native Whitlow.
Brian Schrader. I'm also San Diego native. Been here for 8 years.
Next up, we have, if there are any agenda modifications. Yes, they speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Next up is approval of the previous meeting minutes that were sent via email. So I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to accept.
Second from Alan. And do we have any discussion? Then let's take this to a vote. If all in favor, show of hands.
Are those on docs or PDF?
It was a Word document?
If it's on doc, I think it's,
Sure. I'll make sure to send it in both.
I can do PDF, I can.
I will make sure to send it in both. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay. So you're in favor of passing the notes? Passing the notes. Okay, so abstain.
Then.
It's all any against and one abstain. Okay. You have the numbers? Okay. Treasurer's report for Francis.
So there's no change, the balance is $1,332.
And once again, the number is
1,332 and 36 cents.
1,332. Okay, thank you. Next, we'll open up for non-agenda public comments, limited to 2 minutes per person. Yes.
Hi, my name is John Kaminsky. I live on North Pond Street. On the 5th of July, I had a meeting with Karen Hassan of the Development Services for the city. Basically, the city doesn't care about property lines, what developers are doing with property lines, like that. And if you have a dispute with the developer, it's on you, get an attorney, get a surveyor. The city just doesn't care. And basically, the city only has records back to 1955. Anything before 1955 is the county, and the county doesn't care. I've had meetings with two different people at the county. So if you've got a dispute with a developer that's trying to build a unit beside you, you're basically on your own.
Ben.
Yes, and so I was not aware that basically the city folks and the county folks are reporting at each other saying we don't have the.
We told, well, my daughter told you.
Well, now I know. I did not know that originally, that the county had actually sent them over to the city, but now that I do know that, I am gonna see how we can get those records from one of the entities.
The problem is then, we don't need the records because they don't care. It's a civil matter. We set the property lines when the development was done, when the property was sold, and if they're right, okay. If they're not right, it's your problem. One way or another, it's on the homeowner or the property.
Any others? Public comment? One person online. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. My name is Danielle Lehman, and I've attended a few other meetings of the Normal Heights, but now, since I am the newly appointed member of the Park and Rec Board for District 9, which Normal Heights is now in District 9, I'm interested in getting any updates that you have gotten from the consultants about Ward Canyon expansion. I'm particularly interested in finding out what was presented last month or the month before. And I was wondering if there was going to be any updates at tonight's meeting, since I am only able to stay for a few more minutes.
There are no planned updates in this meeting. And the meeting where the presentation was made was recorded in Zoom and is available online. If you email chair at normalheightscpg.org, I'll make sure that you get a link to the video. At this point,
Got a hand up there.
Owen, yes.
I assume the person on Zoom was actually talking still about what he was talking about. We should be taking this very seriously about the property lines. Most of you have a fence and you assume that's where your property is, but if a developer decides to just start tearing your fence down and going at it, that's the first time you find out about it, and then it's up to you to get an attorney, but as a rule, it's too late to deal with at that point. So we all need to take this very seriously. What I have to say about that.
Thank you. I will actually make a public comment as a citizen, not as a board member, but I recently discovered public right-of-way along Mountain View Boulevard extends 5 feet into the front of the yards of homes along that street. This is due to the width of the street having setbacks based on the width of the street rather than a fixed distance from the center line. What this means to residents is that no fence or other structure of any size may be built in that margin without obtaining an encroachment maintenance removal agreement, EMRA, from the city. As this includes driveways, it is not technically legal to park a car in your own driveway if it is in the public right-of-way that extends onto the property. If the driveway is shorter than about 13 feet, you can't park there. As this rule will hinder parking for many homes, especially those building ADU or JADU, I'm asking the NHCPG to work with the city to find the actual public right-of-way measurements and provide advice on how to modify the public right-of-way to support off-street parking and make better use of the boulevard. Any other public comments before we move on? Yes.
That will change if SB 10 is approved. You go straight to the property line.
With the heater on.
Right. Okay. Next up is digital communication monitoring news from Nextdoor, Facebook, email coming in. Okay. Then let's move into corridor improvements 2. This would be Daniel Nutter from Dokken Engineering presenting. I'm going to figure out how to unshare here. And Dan, do you have the ability to screen share?
I unfortunately don't. It says host has disabled participant screen sharing. We did just email you our PowerPoint a few minutes ago, about 20 minutes ago. I apologize, it came in a little late for you. So I don't know if you're able to pull it up via email or if you're able to disable my inability to screen share. Either way.
Sure. Made you co-host.
All right. I'll give this another shot here.
We do see that.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I am not a Zoom user, so I apologize in advance for any technical difficulties that come about. So, all right. So you guys can see my screen. You guys can hear me. Everything's good.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Well, Wanda. What's that?
We'll work through it.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize. I couldn't hear what was being said.
Full screen.
Full screen. Let's see. Where is that?
I think you need that.
Top right where it says view. The right-hand corner, you want to get rid of this.
It's a little better.
All right. Just let me know whenever you guys are ready for me to start off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for having us in. My name is Dan Nutter, and I'm with Dokken Engineering, and I'm the design project manager for the Corridor Improv 2 project. And with me today, I do have Joe Tan, who's our lead designer, and then Jamie Fong, who's with Cook and Schmidt, who's our community outreach liaison. She is here with us as well. So with that, really what we're doing today is we're just providing you an informational update on our project as we're moving forward. So Corridor Improv 2 project, as you guys may have realized, the city of San Diego, they are not coming up with really unique names. So it's hard to tell what's going on with the project when you just hear the name. But this particular project, the main improvements that we'll go over, it's a combination of water improvements, sewer improvements, ADA curb ramp improvements, and resurfacing. And as you kind of see here, the limits of our project, really, there's only a small amount of our project that really falls into the Normal Heights community. And that's up here at the north end of our project site here, just north of El Cajon Boulevard. The bulk of our project actually is in the City Heights community. And fun fact, my house is just about down here. So this project does actually go in front of my house as well. I've been a City Heights resident for a decade now, so I am gonna see the fruits of this project just as you guys will. So I'm pretty darn excited about it. But as you can see here from the overall picture, what is blue is new proposed water main, and then what is yellow and red is really new sewer main and rehab to sewer main. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. So the main sewer scope here, we're doing about 1.4 miles of sewer replacement, and that's vitrified clay sewer mains, and we are replacing those with PVC sewer mains, which is really kind of the standard of practice today. And then we're also rehabbing about 1/4 mile of sewer pipe. Now these are vitrified clay pipes that they still have some integrity left. So the city doesn't want to spend extra dollars replacing them when we're able to still get another 40 or 50 years of life with rehabbing them. And really what rehabbing means is we're going to reline those sewer pipes. So get a couple more years out of them. And then in addition to the replacement of the sewer mains, we also will be replacing sewer laterals and all the ancillary sewer manholes. So you can kind of see here, the picture on the right gives you a bit of an indication where we are replacing sewer main and where we do have rehab sewer as well.
San Diego's edition, returning to our great city on November 12th.
All right, and then for our water improvements, a little bit more substantial from a water standpoint, where we are replacing about 0.6 mile of water line, and then we are installing brand new water mains, meaning we're removing these mains out of the alleyway and we're putting them into the actual named streets. We're doing about 1.8 miles of that. We are replacing all fire hydrants, all water services and other appurtenances. And that last bullet, we do have some curb ramp and pavement resurfacing, and we'll talk about that. So as part of this project, ADA accessibility is obviously an extremely important element for the city of San Diego. So with that, we do have improvements to 48 curb returns. As I noted on the previous slide, that is roughly 60 new curb ramps that we're going to be installing as part of this project. And then something that is also very important for all of us is having street resurfacing. So anywhere on a main road that we have a trench for either a water line or a sewer line, we're going to make sure that we have some sort of pavement resurfacing for that. The standard resurfacing is typically a slurry seal coverage, and in a residential area, that's usually a type 1 slurry over type 2. And really what that means is it's a little quieter of a resurfacing, meaning when you're driving on it, it's a quieter drive. And then along University Ave and El Cajon Boulevard, That will be a type 2 over type 3, which is a little bit more substantial of the slurry, but it's a little bit noisier and louder when you drive on it, but it holds up to heavier traffic a bit better. So as you can see, the pictures on the right, and I'll see if I can actually zoom into this a little bit here. So this is a little bit of an idea of where our curb ramps are going to be installed. So looking at the right of your page, over here, or right of the screen, that's north, the left is south. Here's University Avenue here, and then we've got El Cajon Boulevard here. So we've got a lot of curb ramp kind of in the 36th Street to 39th Street area, right around the University Avenue portion of the project. Obviously, curb ramps kind of smattered throughout the project limits, but that's kind of where the bulk of them lie. And then the other major item that we have here are water service replumbs. And actually, we have some sewer lateral replumbs as well, but one of the large portions of this project is removing the old aged water lines out of the alleyway and putting them into the named streets. So what you typically see is, those beat up alleys that keep on getting trenched through. They don't really get the same level of resurfacing as a named street. And the reason for that is because the city of San Diego actually has a different funding mechanism for named streets versus alleyways. So what the Public Utilities Department is trying to do is they're now trying to move most of their utilities from those alleys into the named streets. Makes it a little bit easier to service those lines. It's less impactful to residents, and it's just a easier, better way to operate and maintain those lines for the Public Utilities Department. So with that, this project, we're moving the majority of our water lines to named streets. So, most of these are going through the numbered streets, 36th, 37th, Cherokee. But to do that, we have to replumb about 410 households. So what that means is we're actually going to create a new water service for these homes. We have 5 sewer replums that we're going to do, which really what that means is we're just going to create a new sewer lateral for those homes. The owner, any owner occupant, I should say owner or occupant, you're not going to really feel any disservice when this is occurring. You're not even going to know it's going to happen. But we are going to be asking you to work with us on having water service and sewer lateral replumb agreements. So we do have to work with each owner to make sure that we're able to get those replumb agreements recorded at the county recorder's office, and that will ensure that we have everything on file and we can make that cutover for you guys. So we will be independently reaching out to every single property owner and resident that is going to be affected by that. So that's roughly a third of the homes along the project alignment. So make sure really, and most of that is the Community Heights Community Planning Group area, not Normal Heights. So you guys really don't have any replums, but that is something that I did want to let you guys know because it is an important element here. And then some of the final bits of information is we are anticipating construction to start really in the fall of this year. So we're pretty darn close. We already have a contractor on board. So this project is actually done through a design build mechanism, which is able to bring the project a little bit faster to you guys, which I think is awesome. The design and construction cost for the project is roughly $18 million. And the normal working hours that you'll see is going to be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So all of this work is being done in residential areas or areas that are very close to residents. So we want to ensure we're not going to be doing noisy night work. There are going to be some impediments and detours during the daytime, but we'll make sure that at 5 p.m., basically every road is going to be usable. Every driveway is going to have access throughout the duration of construction. All businesses along University and El Cajon Boulevard, there will be no disruptions for that business use. So really, our main goal is to get in, do this work as unnoticeably as we possibly can, which everyone knows with construction that's impossible. But we really want to make sure that we get the work done during the day, button it up, so nights and weekends are pretty easy for the residents to get around. So with that, that's really the bulk of the presentation for us. That's the information that we have to share and the project highlights. And I'd like to start with the board if you guys have any questions for us.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. We do have one question from Jim.
Thanks for your presentation. Could you provide on your map a little more detail of the Normal Heights area? Which streets? I realize the project is mostly in City Heights, but we're mostly interested in the area north of El Cajon Boulevard. And what street is it? Did I see in blue there?
Yeah, so if you can see the screen here,
try
to zoom in a little bit. So the Normal Heights community is north of, well, half of El Cajon Boulevard and north. So it is this portion of water replacement here. And that is, let's see, I believe.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Joe.
That segment of water replacements on Cherokee Avenue, and it goes up to Meade Avenue, up north.
So this is El Cajon, and this is Meade here.
Yep.
And then we have a little bit of sewer work in here as well along El Cajon Boulevard.
Thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
It's on Cherokee Avenue is the only section in Normal Heights.
Cherokee and some along El Cajon Boulevard. That's correct.
I'm sorry, what else? El Cajon. So on the north side of El Cajon Boulevard?
It's on the north side of El Cajon Boulevard.
Okay, so those are the areas of our interest. My second question is, the water line needs to be redirected from where it is to the center of the street, and that's going to involve a cost to the property owner or not?
There is no cost to the property owners at all for this.
Great, start tomorrow.
Gonna start as soon as we can.
I'll add one, like, really not that far question, but just a silly technical question. How wide are the PVC for the sewer line? Or how big? What's the?
I think you said it was 8 inches, and it was,
So
it was a stream of the spec.
Size of the pipe? Yeah, so basically our sewer improvements are going to be anywhere between 8 and 10 inches in diameter. And then our water, all new water pipes are going to be either 8 inches or 12 inches. So there are some 6-inch pipes that we are replacing, and that's going to be replaced with 8-inch or 12-inch.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike.
So I think that image that you showed us there is for sewer. Is that also including fresh water? That image you showed us?
So I guess
water.
let me step back a little bit here. So there are 3 images. Here is our overall project exhibit image, and this shows both water and sewer. And then what we did is for our sewer improvements slide here, we're showing only the sewer improvement. And those sewer improvements, again, they match with what is shown here. And then on our 4th slide, we show only the water improvements. And all these water improvements, again, those match up with what's shown here on the overall project improvement slide.
So I have a question related to the water the water mains, are these water mains larger than the clay ones that are being replaced?
There are some pipes that are being upsized. The 6-inch pipe is all going to be at a minimum of 8 inches. But most of the water lines are being replaced with the same size line. So the water demand does not necessitate larger diameter pipes than are already out there for the majority of the project.
Okay. Second question is, which direction does the water flow? Does it go north-south or south-north?
So most of these water lines, this is actually a looped system. So there's not really a north-south, so to speak, because this is not, it's not like a sewer line that is only going to go in a single direction with a gravity flow. A lot of these roads, they might have it going north, and then it might come loop around and come south. So it really, they go in different directions. I don't have, unfortunately, a perfect answer for you there.
No, that's a good answer. Thank you. That really answers the question I had. Yes.
Does the sewer in the area gravity under existing, and then will it still remain gravity under proposed?
Yeah, so this area is completely gravity fed sewer. We do not have any force mains along this area of project improvements at all, which makes it nice. It's easy. And, you know, from an operation and maintenance standpoint, gravity sewer lines are kind of the way to go. We try to stay away from force mains wherever we can. And luckily, we've got enough elevation change where that is still able to hold true.
No further questions? Great. Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for your time. Really appreciate it.
Okay, and if we encounter other questions after the meeting, we'll definitely forward those to you.
Yeah, please do. We're open to any questions, so thank you very much.
Let's share agenda. Next up is formation of nominating committee. We're currently at 12 members. But Jim is in his final year, so we only have him for a maximum of another 8 months, I think.
I've exceeded, but you've allowed me to stay on to maintain a quorum.
And is there a 1-year limitation to that? We end at the 9th?
I don't know.
Keep
But I'm anxious to leave.
No. No.
Yes. The refreshments are crummy and, you know.
We do need a refreshments committee, especially in this heat. And I believe, Emily, you're departing for Colorado, is it?
No, Chicago.
Chicago, okay. We will, so that means if we fall below 10, then we no longer have a quorum and the city stops listening to us.
Paul, are we using quorum in like Robertson's work? It's a majority of the seated board members out of a fixed number, or is there another requirement that the city says we have to have a certain many people on the board?
I believe it's actually the number of seats occupied. So we need to have 10 seats occupied in order to maintain our standing. So quorum is actually the wrong word. Thanks. So it's imperative that we recruit. We've been doing some work to that effort, but the first step in this is formation of a nominating committee. According to the bylaws, the committee would then create a list of candidates that are qualified and reach out. Do we have volunteers for a nominating committee?
Oh boy, this is going to go great. That nominating committee would just look over the last meetings, notes that they attended, and then make sure that they've attended 2, 3 meetings?
I have the data in an Excel sheet ready.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of looking at the Excel sheet, reaching out, and if you know of anybody that maybe they attended one meeting, and you can persuade them to attend one more to bring them in. But we have the data set ready, so it's fairly simple. I thought so. Do you want to drag somebody in with you? Got it? Okay. And we have, I don't think we need to take a vote on formation of the committee. I'll get you the data.
Thank you. Doing this for you.
Next up.
Can we just lock the door and grab some of these?
Lock the door, maybe we're gonna die in the heat.
Yeah, we'll definitely have less people.
Next up is opposition to SB 10. The proposed motion is for the board to write a letter to the planning commission opposing the adoption of SB 10 into the housing code update 2 in alignment with other mid-city planning groups. So the CPC has already written a letter. The Kensington Kental group has written a letter. So that's the argument in favor. I would like to hear from the room on pros and cons.
We need a motion first, maybe. I'd like to make a motion that we support the letter.
Do we have a second? Dan is seconding, and
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Just one more time. Do we have a letter? Is there
Yes.
a letter?
Yes, we do.
Because
I will.
I don't see anything.
There's a draft letter, so we can, as a board, we can edit that.
Okay, so after the.
Yes.
Send you.
Yes.
Then. Okay, that was.
Yeah, but there is a draft letter ready. Open this for discussion.
This is your time to put the sign up.
Oh, yes, Mike.
All right. In case anybody gets inspired, I brought little signs that we can all put up.
Turn it the other way.
We got lots more over there, you guys get inspired, but the bottom line is SB 10 is something that was put together by the state. There is no other city that has put it on the agenda. City of San Diego seems very intent on doing so. There will be a meeting in August to vote on that. SB 10, the nut and bolts of it is you can put up 12 units on a traditional family housing unit in Normal Heights with 0 lot line. And what he was talking about earlier with the setback, there will be no setback. It'll go right to the sidewalk and it'll go right to each of your neighbor's things. So developers will be more than happy to give you more than your house is valued at because they can put 12 units on there. And the end result, I don't want to keep going because others probably want to speak, but the end result, in my opinion, is what will happen because basically people want to do that so they can continue to rent to us who live there. There will be no owner-occupied properties in Normal Heights or basically the city of San Diego anymore. And it will be a tenement city, basically. So you should do your best to try to speak to your city council and to anybody who basically will listen. If there was an opportunity to speak more, there's also going to be a rally that will be held basically in Fashion Valley. I can send anybody who's interested flyers for that, but basically we're going to have lots of people with doing the rally for that from various community groups in the college area and in, of course, Normal Heights and in Kensington and from University Heights and from Del Cerro area and from Claremont and every city, University Heights, and Hillcrest And what else am I missing? A bunch of communities, how about that?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you all to attend so that the city council will be more likely to be receptive to the desire not to have this thing come to San Diego and basically ruin our city. Thank you.
Go ahead. I have a question about the 12 units per residential parcel. On the bill, in the actual wording of the bill, it says that a local government to adopt an ordinance to zone any parcel up to 10 units of residential density per parcel.
My understanding is there's the opportunity for 12, based on, depending on the size of the unit.
Yes.
If I can answer that. In San Diego, the adoption of SB 10 would include the ability of the property owner to add 2 ADUs to the 10 units.
To the additional 10 units.
So that's where we get the figure of 12 on a lot as small as 5,000 square feet.
Is there any affordability related to that?
There is an affordability component for some of the development. That's a good thing. I'm Paul Gruber, and I'm with Neighbors for a Better San Diego, and we have spearheaded now with some other groups opposition to SDFD. The affordability is important. We're distrustful of the council's willingness to see that through because of our experience with the bonus ADUs, where affordable defaulted to moderate rate rentals, which means $2,265 for a 1-bedroom, 470 square foot unit. And there is an effort by a pro-housing group to remove the affordability component. So while we applaud the effort to increase lower income housing, I would say we don't feel that that overrides the really significant problems with the legislation. And I'll just give you 2, and then I'm here to answer the questions. Number 1 is that the zoning changes that would be made under SB 10 are irrevocable.
Yes.
Future councils cannot change any upgrade to zoning. And I think that that is simply unacceptable. You know, it strips from our elected officials the ability to make changes that would be, you know, significantly needed over time. Number 2 is this legislation is envisioned by the state. Let me read you just a sentence to provide what's called missing middle housing. Number 1, our past experience, and no one has refuted this, is that we must keep in mind that none of this housing will be for sale. This will all be rental housing. It will remove from the market existing homes that serve as starter homes. It will lower our inventory. Let me read you the definition of what missing middle housing is. The varieties of missing middle housing include duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, courtyard apartments, bungalow courts, townhouses, multiplexes, and live-work units, compatible with existing zoning. There is nothing in this legislation that would require any of this to be built instead of what we know will happen and what we call density bonds, which is developers will do what you are seeing, pick a parcel affordable that pencils out with 10 to 12 units, strip the lot and build. At the least, this must include a requirement that neighborhood by neighborhood, we look at lots and develop this this is a laudable goal, right? To have all these different kinds of housing that are in scale, but there's nothing in the legislation that would require it.
Yes, John.
As you know, Paul, I've been back and forth with the county and the city and all the departments for the last 6 months. And my consensus is that this is over and done. I talked to several people in different county offices who have intimated to me that the money is running the show. And I don't know if all agree with me, but the developers are running the city now. That's the truth now. You know, I've gotten feedback from all over. I think it's laudable that we're going to fight this, and I'm willing to fight, and I signed up for different committees, but you got to follow the money.
I can answer that. Would you like to give some insight to that? I think we have a really very good chance to defeat this. And here's why. In June, the Housing Commission, which is the Planning Commission, which is the first group of the year, as the first agency of government that reviews the proposal by the Planning Department to invoke SB10, adopt SB10, refused to do it. There was outspoken opposition by the Planning Commission, especially the chair, that called it a bridge too far. So they did not approve with this proposal SB10 and sent it back to the Planning Commission to make changes. And it's the Planning Commission that on August 3rd is going to rehear this with changes made by the Planning Department that we don't know and probably won't know until a couple of days before August 3rd. So the fact that the Planning Commission would not rubber stamp what the Planning Department and the mayor's office asked for is a very big deal, and it's really significant. Number two, I would point to the approval by the City Council of the sustainable development areas, which we were strongly opposed to this ridiculous idea that you can build multi-unit housing with no parking a mile from a transit stop. 4 members opposed that, led by Joe LaCava, in a show of unity that we haven't seen. So I personally feel that we can get 4 again with those SB10, depending on what concessions the Planning Department is willing to make. And that's so important. We have got 16, you should know that Neighbors for San Diego, through our website, has generated 1,600 letters from San Diegans to the mayor and the council in opposition to SB10. And all the pressure we put on the mayor and the city and the Planning Department could very well yield
Yes. So in the legislation mentions like at the state level, infill sites are high density sites. How is that determined in San Diego? Is that the same as SDA, or is it, do we know that detail yet?
Yeah, it's a little complicated, but our understanding is that anything in the TPA, which is a half mile, of course, as the crow flies, you know, which is the most ridiculous boundary, you know, that if you have to fly over schools, you have to half mile to a bus stop. Anything in the TPA, much in the SDA, which is a mile, and then worse than that, there are so-called specific plan, which I maybe you can help me with. I think there are certain developments, like maybe Carmel Mountain or something that is sort of carved out in the community. If one portion of that specific plan area touches the SDA, then the entire area would be available for SB10 type development. So essentially, it could be a mile or more, and that of course leads to our other point of opposition, which I am particularly animated by, which is I don't think that this council should approve anything in so-called transit areas until we have an honest discussion about the shortcomings of our public transportation system. Because this is all built on this I'll just all build on this fallacy that somehow people are not gonna have a car because they can walk a half mile or a mile to a bus.
Yeah.
It's gonna take them everywhere.
Fallacy.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah,
Francis was making.
Actually, yeah, right.
Francis?
Go back to, I just wanted to be very clear about the affordability component of this. Is that including, how does that affordability continue?
I don't know, I can only tell you that with the ADUs, you know, the idea of the bonus ADUs, which of course, you know, when it all is said and done, it's aimed by developers to avoid building low income, that they have to keep it low income for 8 years. So I don't know if, I don't know if SB 10 is an 8-year low income or perpetual low income.
Yes.
Then
It had been in the ordinance, at least the draft of the ordinance that I read, it was 55 years.
That's the secret. You said 55.
Yes, 55 years.
I thought it was much
That
less
seems a
than that.
little.
I thought it was 15. I don't know why.
I thought 15 as well. That's what I thought, but when I read the ordinance, the language says 55.
I know there's about the standard if it's getting like subsidized, like it's section 8 or, so it might, yeah.
I think in the bonus ADU program is 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, if it's subsidized with public funding, then.
But these won't be subsidized.
But that was the language in the ordinance that's on the app. Yes, Gary.
This has got to be one of the worst cases of legislation that's ever been reported out. Everything is wrong with this. It's perceived one way and it's another way. It's got nothing to do with affordable housing. If you read, everywhere you read, you can't build anything for under 6 figures. And yet they call it affordable housing. Developers free for all is what it is. Flies in the face of legal community planning, which has been established, of course, over 100 years. This is taking us backwards to free for all and anarchy. Anything you want. You can't just grow 10 or 12 units on a lot next door to a piece of property and say we're done. This is not going to go anywhere. It is kind of like, in a sense, the abortion issue, which is really a woman's right for the body issue. 70% of the electorate agrees with that, and yet there are people in government that are fighting it. It's the same thing with this land use. I've seen this over the years. All you got to do is tack a flyer to a telephone pole and say, we want to build apartments on your block, and you have a room full of people. People believe in sensible planning. There are planning groups. They are charged with doing this kind of stuff. The Normal Heights Planning Group has a community plan that allows high density in certain areas and not others. But to just simply say, we're going to make it up as we go along and make up rules, make everybody happy except the people who are impacted by it, it's shameful. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Ben.
Thank you, Gary. First, I just want to say, at least from our office's perspective, we have not made any decisions on what's going to happen because we haven't seen the finalized ordinance itself. So we have no idea how we would vote, depending on what's included, what's not included. So we also are eagerly awaiting that August 3rd meeting. And I also wanted to, kind of run through the timeline for you all in terms of kind of the process that we'll go through. So Planning Commission is going to be hearing it on August 3rd. And then once, if it passes out of Planning Commission, it would then go to Land Use and Housing Committee, and then go to full council. But between August 3rd and however long it takes to get docketed, there's still time to, I think, as a lot of you are doing now, organize and inform the various entities that are deciding on that, mayor, city council, the planning department. So I would definitely encourage you to voice your concerns. Again, I will say nothing has been decided from our office. If you've watched council lately, decisions and things are happening on the dais. So conversation, one of the big things that we've seen is sausage making literally happening on the dais as the folks are having the conversation. So I wouldn't say that, at least again, from our perspective, anything has been decided.
Yes,
I'd just like to say that eventually I think people have to vote the politicians out of office that are bringing this mess, and it's not, I'm not as optimistic as you as that it was a close vote. I think it's normally all planned. You allow a few elected officials to, take the popular vote. They say, make the opposition happy, but you still lose the vote. So this has been a coordinated effort by Democratic legislators, people that are in this city that move on to statewide office. For years, they told big lies about how, people are homeless because we don't have enough housing, or we need to build more housing because it'll be affordable. And 40 years ago, they would be called Republicans, but the Republicans disappeared and they've been taken over by Democrats. So you can't get mad at the developers. They're just doing what they do. It's the politicians that have gone along with it. And so it's not just SB 10, it's SB 9, it's all the people that say, yeah, people will walk to transit. We complained about no transit 40 years ago when they started redeveloping, when they started tearing down single family homes. There was this thing called Transit Now in the 80s. Nothing happened. If you want to see what the future of transit is in San Diego, just look at the people that have been planning transit for 50 years. And there's no big change. So anyway, ultimately, people have got to get pissed off and vote out the politicians that are going along with this and ruining the neighborhood. Because that's what's going to happen when you put 80 units in a block and no parking. And it's going to affect the people that depend on street parking, which are predominantly people that are renting, not the homeowners that have driveways. So this whole thing's going to come back to haunt us in the future. And I feel sorry for the planners that have to work in the city or work in government under this regime, being forced to tell us they're doing this for good community. And all the planning groups, all of our powers have been sucked away, and we have no control over our community plan. So the whole thing is just absurd. People got to get pissed enough to vote all these people out of office. I mean, they're in the pocket of developers. That's why we have all this now.
Okay. I'm going to take one more, and then we should take this to a vote. Go ahead.
Unless there's new information, I'd like to call for the question.
I'd just like to add one thing that is kind of new. I can tell from your comments that you're interested about the low-income housing, that you might see that as a benefit, as we do too. I would just say that is the type of housing we should be building on the corridors.
Yes.
We should have 10 to 12 unit developments, and it's certainly much bigger than that on our corridors, not deep in our neighborhoods. Because if there's ever a chance that we will ever have any workable transit, that's where it's going to be. So that's where we should have it.
Okay. And we'll take a vote.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
In that vein, I think it might be helpful if we had in the letter had something that was what we would support. It was something that was brought up at last month's meeting that we oppose, but we never said what we would support. And so what would we support? Well, where do we want higher density? It's in the community plan. It should be on El Cajon Boulevard.
We've said that for years. It's been in the plan for years.
Let's formally say, if we're gonna do this letter, I think it would be helpful to formally say we'd like to see more density. We'd like to see housing on El Cajon Boulevard. We'd like to see this level, SB 10 level of density, which is a lower density than along Adams Avenue and El Cajon Boulevard. That's where we have it in the community plan.
So would you be amenable to adding language like? I'm hearing you volunteer as an editor on the letter, so, yeah, okay.
Can I
Yes,
say, if you're interested in doing that, adding to your letter what your group supports, which we all have a responsibility to do. Our group, Neighbors for a Better San Diego, has almost all people. So that gives you some suggestions to choose from for your letter.
yeah, I believe that, I think we can work out a draft that has a positive tone and really puts forward our intentions of this body and our community, and not just a blanket now. Yes, Jim?
As the maker of the motion to oppose, you have this organization write a letter to powers that be opposing SB 10. I would accept a modification that it would include, we do support the existing mid-city community plan, which focuses on higher density along the major corridors. Dan's had his hand up for a while.
This is a good point. And it's new information that these are that SD10 provides absolutely no protections for resources. That's why Save Our Heritage organization and many of the historic groups in the county itself oppose this, because the city itself for 45 years has done due diligence, spent significant resources in responsible management of historic resources. They just suddenly throw it out the window, and it's just insane.
Okay.
And fire zones.
I think in terms of, if you don't mind, go ahead. This will be our last comment, and we'll take the vote.
I agree with the talking points so far. I'd like to add that, just to give you a personal impact, we lived here, we bought our house in 1988, so we've been here for 35 years. Our next door neighbors were so sure that SB 10 was going to pass and be included that they have already applied to add 9 additional dwelling units next door to the existing one dwelling unit with no parking. It's going to destroy our view, our breeze coming off the canyon, our sunlight, and our privacy. They're going to be able to look straight down into our backyard and into the back of our house. There's going to be a strong impact of parking on our street, which is already tight. It's not fair. The other thing that I want to say is, I did transportation modeling for Caltrans. In fact, I headed up their unit, and also for Sandag for a year. And I can tell you that we do not put in the model that people are going to walk more than a half a mile to a transit center. And not only that, but even if they do have transit accessibility, if they have to transfer once, ridership sharply drops off. So the idea that transit is going to be available to people within a mile is not realistic. It's never been an assumption in modeling. And I can tell you this too, that if this legislation passes in San Diego, we will be the poster child for bad planning, bad urban planning, ad infinitum. This is going to be in textbooks. Students decades from now are going to be looking at the bad planning decisions made by San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. I think at this point,
I just have one more thing, apropos the water question that we just saw, water updates.
Okay.
Because I think it's timely that we saw that today. At no point in that plan did the replumbing account for higher consumption. No, at no point. Ben, I'm going to talk to you because you need to communicate this to your boss. I think it's irresponsible. I think it's, dishonest in a lot of ways. But if you look at this from no other perspective other than that should be convincing that our infrastructure cannot handle an increase in density to the extent that we're looking at. Sorry, last.
Call for the question.
At this point, we should take this to a vote, and Jim, you would, the proposed motion is to write a letter to the Planning Commission opposing the adoption of SB 10 into the Housing Code Update 2 in alignment with other mid-city planning groups, and we would include the references to the mid-city plan and state what our vision is in terms of low-income housing
And density, yeah.
Okay, and density. Okay.
Would we want it to read this letter before it goes? or-
Yes, we'll distribute this via our group we met, and it'll also be, we should also make it available for public viewing it somehow.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
If you're concerned with the details of what the letter actually says, I think if we vote to move forward, we could have a provision that the detail of the letter be circulated before it's actually sent, so you could all have an opportunity to say, hey, Paul, that's not what he said.
I agree.
That'd be okay, because it seems to me there's time between now and August 3rd.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that by the next meeting, but for instance, you draft the letter, you or whoever's drafting the letter, circulate it by email. If there's opposition, we reconvene in the next.
Agreed. We can use the NHCPG mail. We can use the NHCPG mailing list to announce that it's publicly available on the website for comment.
That might help if people are worried about the detail of the letter.
Sure. Yes. We want to make sure the language is from all of us.
We can't trust you.
I wouldn't. Anyway, let's take this to a vote. We'll start with all in favor. Show of hands. What we have is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8. Do we have any nays? 1, 2, 3. 3 nays and any abstains? 1 abstain. So the vote passes. Thank you.
Next day.
Next
The rally
item.
will be on Saturday, July 28th.
I think it's the 29th.
28th. Yeah, I had to pull up my email.
Yeah, we're trying to get 1,000 people there.
Next up is meeting accessibility. The proposed motion is to shall the draft letter to Tony Atkins and Chris Ward regarding the Brown Act modernization to allow video conferencing. The Brown Act was written in, I think, was it 1958? And at that point, they didn't have any idea that we would have an internet. So the Brown Act needs to be updated to be more modernized towards allowing attendance via video conferencing. As it currently stands, attendance is permitted for the general public via Zoom or video conferencing, and but it's not actually written into the law. It's just sort of a handshake agreement with the city, and it really needs to be codified. And they also need to find out what the exact rules should be for board attendance. Right now, the rules state the board has to be in person, or if they are remote, they need to publish their home address or the address where they're attending the video conference and make that space available to the general public. So it's not really such a great idea. But the details of that we would leave to Atkins and Ward, but we'd like them to update and modernize the bill.
Question. This is specifically to allow video conferencing for board members.
For board members, yes.
Do you mind if I amend that statement? For board members?
Please do.
You need a motion?
Yes, we have a motion. Okay, Brian moves to approve. Jim seconds. Okay, shall we take any discussion?
It's important. This is for inclusivity and accessibility for people. Not
Yeah.
only on the board, but it's just getting people to these meetings.
It's also, we'd like them to sort it out in the bill and make it clear. Is the board going to be in the room? Are they allowed to go on Zoom? Whatever they decide.
I get it conditioning at home there.
Then we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? The ayes. That looks unanimous. Okay. Next up is the vision statement. The proposed motion is the NHCPG shall adopt a vision statement. A copy has been distributed to the board. There's also small versions of it available at the front table. And in fact, do we have a motion to adopt?
Could you read it for the people online?
Okay. The vision statement is the Normal Heights Planning Group envisions a, I have it on, for those on, let me just pull it up so they can read it on screen. There we go. Okay. The Normal Heights Planning Group envisions a healthy, vibrant community that honors unceded Kumeyaay land and cares for all inhabitants. We prioritize inclusive and equitable land use, valuing people over commodification. Through pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, transit-oriented development, open space preservation, and affordable housing, we strive for a vibrant and sustainable neighborhood. Additionally, we promote responsible economic development that supports local businesses, fosters job opportunities, and enhances the overall economic vitality of Normal Heights.
Good question, Paul. That's different than the one that was sent over email.
It's slightly different. The other one was had the term smart growth in there, which not a lot of people are versed with that or what that is. So we simplified it to have Normal Heights Planning Group envisions.
Yes, I can write that in.
So you're looking for a motion, I'd have to make a motion, we accept it, even though it looks like it was written by AI.
It
is smarter than us.
if anyone would like to volunteer to edit and revise, I'm open. Yes.
I was hoping we could have a chance to do that.
Yes, we can do
I
that.
have a suggestion.
Yeah.
Something that I would like to take on this.
In fact, I have it up on the screen here, and we can
I think there should be a passive mention of
start with preservation.
It's not mentioned at all.
Okay.
There's a lot of history in Normal Heights, a lot of buildings that are significant. And when you don't see your historic buildings at all, you lose the sense of place. I would like to pose a mention.
How's that?
I was thinking it talks generally about this, but not specifically, but I think quality of life should be front and center. And I don't know if everyone else agrees, but all of these things contribute to that, but it's not mentioned.
Sure. Vibrant community.
Yeah, I guess it needs slightly different, it needs to be slightly different. I don't know, we'll be here all night if we pick it apart, so.
We can also update it at any point. At this point, the planning groups are a lot of the planning groups, including ours, do not have a vision statement at all. And as part of the reform, the city would like us to have a vision statement. So this is the first step.
When I hear stories like your personal experience with the development next door, I think about quality of life, and I think part of our job is to protect constituents from exactly what it's in. So that's my personal.
I like the term protect. Thank you.
I'll just add one thing. So the vision statement we create here as we do the mid-city update, and we bring in Kensington and City Heights and all that.
Yeah.
We raise that in your project like this, it's going to be something where we work to combine. So it's great for you guys to that today.
Yeah. So those who don't know, there is a working committee that's composed of the 4 mid-city groups that's working on a long-term revised plan, which hasn't been revised since '94, I believe. 98. 98, okay. And as part of that, they're going to be forming a vision that's combined from the other groups. So this will have a lot of sort of reuse. So do we have a motion to adopt?
I make a motion to adopt as is, subject to modification at any subsequent meeting when we want to upgrade or change.
I'll second.
So we at least get something in place.
Okay, Alan seconds. Take it to a vote. All in favor? That looks like a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask a technical question? How do amendments get approved? Do they have to be voted on again?
Bring it up in a board meeting and make a motion.
Because we don't trust Paul.
It's AI machine.
As you should. It's a democracy.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes, the final version will be.
Your goals will be in the minutes.
Okay. Going back to, at this point, we're moving into reports and updates, and surprisingly, we are actually 10 minutes ahead.
Wow.
First up, City Parks and Rec. We have representation. Okay. Lydia Marshall did the presentation before, and I'm not expecting you to be here. So Ben, take it away.
Yes, so actually I invited folks from our fire department here. Thank you so much for your patience. Because I know you folks had a few residents and outreach specifically about some of the dry brush that's happening in the north part of Normal Heights on the canyon areas that surround the community. Part of that land, there's a few easements on that land, with part of that being SDFD, and then some of it being privately owned. So our wonderful folks at the fire department have kind of gone and done some research about some of their findings, and definitely want to turn it over to them and show what they can.
Sure. Hey, Bill, thanks, Lita. So some of you might know me. I'm the Deputy Chief Fire Marshal for the City of San Diego, and Tony Costa. Thank you for having me today. With me is our co-compliance supervisor, Raquel Elias, who is wildland management and assessed the area. I did some assessment myself. And Captain Alno Lowry, who's a community resource officer, who does a lot of discussions about evacuations, preparation, education. So just from what we had heard, where there were some concerns, there were a few specific areas, some fences and easements. So what we observed was basically 3 generalized areas, and I'll probably defer to the site inspection, but some of the areas like off of PWO South, and the address that was notified was 31-4. So there was an SDG&E easement at that location, and we were working with them. They're going to do like a 3-foot clearance around the pole area, but there was an easement there. And then when it comes to the actual gate there, we reached out to SDG&E, and they're meant to increasing and improving the gate. I'm not going to hold them to this, but it was about 5 to 6 foot from a 3 foot in that area. So that's one thing. Secondary area down on the approximate location of 5098 Ellison Place. There is an area down there. There is a fenced area where a house was impacted in the 85 Heights fire. We don't really know. We're investigating to see if that fence is city owned or whoever. So we're going to look into that, make a referral if possible there. There was a noted area there that we did look at where there's some open space land, and like in your vision, you have preservation of open space. So this is where it gets complicated. We have 100 feet from a habitable structure, and there was just on the edge from across the street some noted areas we made reference to open space, that there were some areas that they could address. They have been in the area in June. They're going to go out there and take a look at it again. So we spoke with our open space partners. They're aware of it. They also made some site visits to the location. Another area off of Mountain View Drive, there was an area approximately 3280 off of that street where there's an access point. I think that's where the SDG point is. That gets you in. So anything I missed so far? Any questions that anyone has?
Mike.
I wanted to say thank you for your service. Also, you may or may not know that there's going to propose a 7-story building we put here where the Mills building is right now. And as you know, no new water has been brought into Normal Heights since the fire of '85. And I'm just curious, you know, you put on the spot here, but what do you think? How do you think that a fire gets approached in a building such as that with lack of basically water volume in an area like this? How does that get handled?
So I'll start with just some of them. So to your point, I think you mentioned about SB10 and hazardous tourism.
Yes.
That was a generalized statement. I paused because I'm not going to say in favor or opposed to SB12. I'm abstaining from that. But just take caution when you make a generalized statement, because I will tell you that the San Diego Fire Code does apply. I will tell you that the Chapter 49 of the Fire Code applies. I'll tell you that Chapter 7A of the Fire Code applies. We also write in the San Diego Fire Code, which is, you have the building code, the fire code that comes out from the state law. And then what we do is make additions and amendments to the San Diego Fire Code, the San Diego Building Code. So we add additional things, and then we increase water supply as a requirement locally, so that must take place. So there will be additional water supply. We also have additional resources, which I can defer to Captain Lowry. You want to talk about our changes since '85?
Yeah, so sorry, Chief. So we've gone on a lot of changes since '85. I remember actually going on the 8 West Freeway to my synchronous swim lesson and seeing the fire. So, and I was in 5th grade. So I vividly remember that. We've brought on 3 aircraft. We have 3 helicopters now. We have a new Black Hawk online. They are fully staffed during fire season. We also have 4 water tenders within the city that hold 2,000 gallons of water. So that's an extra additional water supply team here. Our staff has increased, our communications has increased. We've learned a lot since '85, '03, the Witch Fire and the Cedar Fire, and '03 and '07 as well. We've had a lot of good lessons learned.
So you mentioned, I remember my question was about the 7-story building, but how does the aircraft help with this building?
So they'll do a recon of the actual structure, and they're added to every single commercial first alarm. And that aircraft will fly over and do a recon mission and communicate with the IC and let them know what they see. We also, any building in the city of San Diego also has to be sprinkled and built to a specific code as well. So the good thing is that it is going to be sprinklered. The water supply will be increased, but also we're going to be training on that building. As a fire captain, if there's a new building going up, you bet that we're going to be going through that thing. Because we want to know how it's built, where our accesses are, where the standpipes are, where the closest hydrant is, and we'll train. I guarantee you that.
That's excellent. It's a major source of concern.
Of course.
It is a longer conversation. I was I'm talking general.
Yeah.
So it has very specific requirements. Non-combustible, FTEs, and things like that. Roofing, windows. So there are things in our fire breaks we work. It was a concern, and the parcels and everything we are constantly review our site throughout that area. We review assessment. So defensible space, fire breaks, give us the ability to defend structure, whether it's private or commercial property. So all of these things layer on layer have changed the state, have changed the state. So we're looking more prepared to the conflict with the building codes, fire codes, and additional resources and technologies that we have. Duly noted on concerns, and we do refer those things when there's encampments. We do assess. We didn't see any encampments on this assessment, but we do take note of all those things. We realize there are hazards, but plan is a plan, and you try to protect it.
Thank you.
Our next question is on Zoom. Gerald, go ahead.
Paul, just real quick, if you guys could shrink your vision statement so we could actually see all of you. The rest of the screen's kind of small. But I guess going back, my name's Gerald Sholin. I was working with Ben Mendoza trying to bring this fire issue to the city's attention, going back to when we were in District 3. A question to you, it was hard to hear you online talking about the contacts with SDG&E. What was their stance on it? Are they going to be helping? I couldn't quite make out from where you're at.
You speak a little louder. I'm directly at the microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So our communications to them for the area that they have responsibility for the fencing, I believe is a 3-foot fence. They're amenable to looking at doing a 5 to 6 foot fence. They're going to definitely do the clearing around the poles, the 3-foot clearance, which is required. So those are the things that they were looking at doing. But other than that, I think that's their area of responsibility, the easement and then the fencing.
But they're not planning on down on Camino del Rio South, that they're not going to be doing any fence improvements because that chain link fence has been broken into multiple times, allowing homeless encampments in that canyon.
What did they say?
They're going to look into it, and we actually sent an email out to our contact for SDG&E, and so we'll be meeting on site to go over the area of concern. It looks like it just needs to be repaired. If the fencing's there, it looks like somebody actually pushed it over and got access down there.
Yeah, it's been repaired multiple times by I talked to the church, the monastery. They actually own the land, and there's been some back and forth between SDG&E says since they own the land, the monastery is responsible for the well-being of the gate, but the monastery is saying that the gate wouldn't be there unless they had the easement. So it's kind of this weird area, but the caretaker has gone down and actually repaired the chain link fence on multiple occasions, only to see it broken into again. It really needs to be replaced with probably a solid steel gate, in my opinion. Yeah, if anything you can do to help and put pressure on SDG&E, I'm sure people in this neighborhood, especially those that have lived here during the 1985 fire, would be greatly appreciated. The other thing that might be brought up if you're talking to the SDG&E contact is that the telephone, or not telephone, but the power line poles, the transmission lines are all wood. They spent over $1 billion improving power lines in the rural regions to stop wildfire, which I applaud their decision there. In some regards, probably would have been cheaper if they just bought batteries for everybody out there. But the density that we have here, if they would, look at securing that area a little bit better, that might help them alleviate. Because if there's a fire coming up, there's going to take those poles down. There's going to be high tension power lines dropping. That's probably going to be dangerous for you guys to fight the fire as well. So just comment on my part, but thank you very much, and thank you very much for your service.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll just mention that we only really out there like yesterday and today, so it's kind of a fresh discussion and a conversation, but we have to figure out whose property or who's responsible for that gate. But the gate that they are responsible, they said they would fix. So we can request and give them our recommendations, but whether we have the authority to enforce them to do that, we'll definitely make the recommendation.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes, Jim.
I own property on North Mountain View, lived there in 1985, and you guys look like you're not old enough to have worked that fire. I want to thank you and the people who did save my house. Thank you very much. My question is that the canyons north of us my understanding is that property owners on the rim own and have responsibility for the slope down at the base. And that's where most of the properties, I'm not sure of all.
Well,
And to what extent can, well, my idea is to send a herd of goats out there. Is that something that actually works to clear combustibles?
So, good question. So first part, 100 feet from the structure, right, is typically the area that you can do. And then going beyond that presents challenges because then even in your vision statement, we have open space land, but if it's your property, you know, so that's kind of the area. So if it goes beyond that, and we have to look at each parcel, each structure to make a decision on each one. So case by case. Goats, it's a challenge because if there's a lot of slope, it's hard for them to work at. If it's an environmentally sensitive area, you have to have them monitored. Don't eat that much, or, you know, don't eat that, and corral them, right? But you have to clear out enough of the branches and the larger vegetation so they can even go in there. So there is areas of town, we do issue permits with the fire rescue department. So if it is an area that can be done, it has to be assessed. It is an option, but it's not done a lot because of those challenges, right?
Thank you.
Sure. It's a good maintenance. It's a good maintenance. So well, we actually applied for a grant for areas to use goats. So we're waiting to hear in July. The fire rescue department partnered with another goat grazing agency. See if we can do that in some areas. But again, we're subject to the same rules, right? So we have to go through the same process.
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the room? You had mentioned chapter 7A, and I think it was 47?
49.
49. Is there a place I can get a hold of those codes?
Certainly, yeah. What we always offer too, and if you ever want to come down, we can show you our library and access it. You can also access them online sometimes. But the ICC website, you can order a book if you want to. International Code Council, you'll just get you can order the California Fire Code. And then the San Diego Municipal Code has hard changes that are additionally on there.
Okay.
So that's available on the city website on the San Diego Municipal Code. And then you're going to go to Chapter 5, Public Safety and Welfare, and then you're going to go to like the third section over, and you'll see our additions.
Okay. But the state level 7A I could get at your library?
Yeah, so what we do is if you want to come through, we have a library and a digital library, and we'll sit you down with our staff and let you see it. We'll set you up in one of our desks.
Fantastic. And what's the location?
We're at 525B 3rd Avenue. So 525B, street, 3rd floor. That's downtown.
Okay. Sounds like it would be a fun little expedition.
Yeah, welcome, come on down anytime.
Any other questions, comments in the room? All right, then, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Next time we'll have you up first too.
That's all right.
Next up, we have representation from Mayor's office.
So you want a lights on there?
Absolutely.
We have county supervisor has been eliminated from the agenda until after the election. So please vote. Is Andy McNew or Senator Atkins here? No. No? Okay. And then last on the list is Chris Ward's office, Christopher Griss. I don't think he's here. No. That would help. Then the next up is chair report. Community Planners Committee has met, and last session at Balboa Park had a presentation from the city on the planning group reforms. They mostly, for
for practical purposes of looking at having the board be more representative of the community. So we're doing some of those efforts to try to get the composition of our board. Obviously, we need board members. We need more board members, but ideally, if we can get young Hispanic renters, that will help the composition of the board reflect the community. So that's an effort that's ongoing, and we'll have a note from Scott further on in the meeting. So the city is also providing some workshops for the planning groups in terms of being able to apply for the renewal, because we need to be recertified December 31st. Our submission for renewal will be submitted by then, and then it would go up for the city council to approve. It also allows for any other group that would like to be the planning group to apply. So I don't think Normal Heights has any other groups competing to do this job. I think some other parts of town do have competing groups, but the city council has final say on the approval and renewal. So, community group updates when present. Adams Avenue Business Association.
Thanks, Paul. Well, the Business Association held a successful taste last Sunday in June. We had 1,100 people there, sold out for about the 10th year in a row. 41 restaurants participated, and everyone had a great time. I mentioned this last meeting that Adams Business Association is going to reballot our maintenance district this year, and in about 6 or 8 months, we'll have a mail out ballot. So I thought maybe this would be a good time that for those people on the board that are working on the potential man in the community to just like tag along, and we'll be sending out propaganda and all that stuff. So we formed our MANs in the mid 80s and early 90s. There wasn't a cost of living increase allowed back then, so we've had the same assessment funding for 30 years. So we're pretty efficient out there, but we need to raise a little more money to pay the garbage cans out there and all the other work we do. Speaking of garbage cans, we have a company out there repainting 140 of our light poles, our 40 trash cans, and there's about 75 bike racks. So we have all the metal on the end, we painted black. So we're just doing touch up. If you're west of Third, we go all the way down to Arizona Street. So the lights west of 30, all the bases have rusted off. We put epoxy on there first and we repaint it. So we're trying to maintain city infrastructure as best we can. Yeah, I mentioned, so the Business Association put out a Facebook post with an appeal to membership that Paul drafted. We did a paid post, so we knew, we reached a certain many people. In the $30, we ended up reaching 2,000 people. We had about 140 interactions on the post, but we also have a Spanish version. We're going to do that, and so we targeted people with a mile distance from this office, which pretty much got from 15 to the 805. It's not a perfect system, but pretty much 92116 license we targeted. So we can keep doing that, and this association has a budget to promote a post, and we'd be happy to spend more money doing that, recruiting new members. And we're working on the street fair. It's still set September 23rd, 24th. You guys have filled out a booth application for the planning group, so you have a space for the power place. Last thing I want to say is that we got hammered on 4th of July on graffiti on Adams, so people have seen 35th and Adams. There were just tags everywhere. We just finished cleaning those up in the last couple of days. On the rec building, on the rec garbage enclosure, on our monument wall on Mansfield, they tagged with brick. On the ball field wall, on the Millies, you couldn't get up on the second floor because it's gated off, but they hit the top floor of the old Mills building, and then they got the monument sign at the elementary school and elementary. We didn't see that, but school district, got it off yesterday. And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, we have matching in the truck like car, we have like 40 different colors of spray paint. So we match all the colors on ends if we
Shades
can.
of gray.
Shade, lots of shades. We have a lot of shades of different colors. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On your Facebook ad, I don't know who posted it, but they posted the one date for the street fair. It says 22, it says September 24th and 25th. And it had 2022 on it.
Well, and this is a Facebook post like recently on
Yes,
it?
yes, and people were saying I had the wrong date on there.
Was it in the last day or two?
About a weekend or over weekend.
Well, we haven't posted anything yet about the street fair.
But it
We have-
is on there.
If he's left over.
Yeah, right. We have like all the posters from last year that are on there, and so yeah, we keep the graphic up until we have the new graphic, which comes out August 1st, so it's a little confusing. But if you look on our website, it has all the correct information.
People were wondering about it. It says
I'll-
22 on
We try.
Good, okay.
Jim, I have a question.
Yes.
I didn't notice the graffiti. That means you did a great job.
But no, it was up for about a week. We try to get the park and rec to do it, but
I understand it's an ongoing thing. It might be worthwhile to paint it out and then put graffiti removed by the.
Yeah, well, we try to behind the scenes, you just want, you don't want to
Thank you very much.
infuriate the taggers and have them do more.
I do have a question for you, Scott.
Yeah.
So you did say that you reached out to Parks and Rec to try to get some of that graffiti abatement done, and they're a little bit slow on the uptake there. So you decided to take that in your own hands and
Well,
take care of it?
we're under contract with the city to do graffiti abatement on Adams Avenue, but not on city property, but, we also just trim their, parkway on, because I couldn't take it any longer, they lose their like 6 feet tall. They're understaffed, Park and Rec is, they have 100 openings and whatever.
Yeah, I think, I was here last time to explain the rest of the deficiencies in the way Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Fort Canyon Park also got hit up pretty hard. I don't expect them to clean that up anytime soon. Got some sidewalk gray maybe in your car right now?
Yeah, we have paint for the bridge, like not spray paint, but buckets of paint. Yeah, we have like 2 different matching sprays.
Yeah, and thank you, Scott. And if you are having issues after having submitted, get it done, please feel free to loop me in, similar to how I asked for backup from fire and also get in touch with Parks and Rec.
It's just quicker to get it done ourselves.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is El Cajon Boulevard Business Improvement Association. Gary, you have anything for us?
Yes, tomorrow is an interesting day on the boulevard, the Lafayette Hotel reopening to the world. And if you haven't seen what they've done on the inside, it's prepared, it's remarkable. I'd like to point out that association has stood on the steps and said you will not sell this to Father Joe, one of his past clients. It was lost almost to the Resolution Trust Corporation. 1980s. We rebuilt it. It was going to be a 17-story tower. It's never gotten done. It's just been existing. And now it is something else.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Normal Heights Community Association and Expert Arts.
Yeah, for the community association.
Yes,
Okay,
I see
so-
Norma online as well.
Okay, we'll go first. Okay.
We had a great event 2 weeks ago, the bike ride through Normal Heights. It was around a 7-mile loop, pointing out some of our schools and parks. We had a really good turnout. We got some kids out there, which was the intention, so that was great. And our next upcoming event will take place in here on August 12th. Thanks, Scott, for providing the location. We're going to have a resource fair with a lot of different community and just assistance organizations, ranging from elected officials are being invited, community groups around housing, health, all different things you can name, mobility are being invited. So we're hoping, to get quite a few agencies will be available from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. here. So any questions, or did I miss anything for the? I think that's it. So hope to see you all next month.
Yeah. Yes. And Norma, did you have anything for us?
Very, very brief. Our arts group has been sort of on hiatus for a while, ever since COVID, but we've been working behind the scenes. Kim Emerson and Dennis have finished their project up in, I think it was Torrance near Long Beach. They had a public park up there that they were working on. So that's done. They're back in town. They're starting to actually physically work on the butterfly mural that's going up on the west side of the rec center. So that'll be started in their studio soon. And then we'll start doing things, I think, with some of the kids at the rec center, because they're going to be participating in it soon. We're still fundraising. We needed about $50,000. We've had roughly 35. So we still need $20 or so thousand. And if we come knocking on doors, don't be surprised. But it's really going to be beautiful. So look for more information coming soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up is Normal Heights for Smart Growth, and I'll go ahead and present on behalf. So I'm going to switch hats here for a moment. We've assembled a poll to take a pulse of the community and help NHCPG become compliant with the planning group reforms. Normal Heights for Smart Growth will work with NHCPG on the content, build the poll, and the analysis on the collected data. All we are asking is that NHCPG pay for the ad promotion on Facebook, which is estimated to be under $100, as Scott was earlier pointing out. I don't think we need a motion or anything at this point. It's just unless there's someone on the board that would like to participate and collaborate on the actual poll itself.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Maybe if we could also explore other methods of outreach. Facebook tends to skew a little bit older, so if it is to take the pulse of the whole community,
yes.
I know everybody loves their Facebook, but if the intention is to kind of get the pulse of the whole community, even I'm old, I'm like Instagram, and that's even for people too. So
Agreed.
Just to, kind of get it out there for everybody.
I was talking to Molly Lorden earlier about bridging the digital divide, and we can make a paper form. We can do some clipboard work as well. Of course, the more volunteers we get for just interacting with the community, maybe keep a poll in the back pocket when we go to the pub, get some input that way. Any way you can think of. Anyway, bring the ideas, definitely. Okay. Next. We missed the advisory. Oh, rec advisory. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Nancy.
Yes. We had a meeting and we had a very bad turnout. One thing is they lost their center director. So she didn't post about the meeting. There was nothing posted, and I got a hold of Michelle and I asked her, I said, are we having a meeting? And she goes, and she said, you know, she told about how sorry she was about it, but they did have a meeting. There it turned out, we only had 3 people there. We had Mark, Kim, and me. That's all that was there at that meeting. And then we went over about the butterfly mural and everything. And another thing they brought up is the mock building. The mock building is going through right now about getting it demolished. They hope to within October next, 10 months that it will be demolished.
Yay.
And there will be
2024 then, or 2023?
October.
Between now and October 24th. They were saying that when they tear that down, there will be landscape with the planting, the native plants. There'll be native plants there, and they will have a fence be put up where the mock building was in the front. So it'll be so the kids won't be able to get out into the street.
Same kind of fence that's around the edge.
Probably, that's falling back.
But it's good.
But they're working on the works of it.
Mike has a question.
On that, I saw the plan, but I know the original drawings were so that can be kind of the grand entrance from the community going into the park. Is this still going to be sort of a plaza entrance there?
Yeah, they're supposed to have like a bridge there too, I think. Kind of a scenic thing. I don't know if they're still having that, but I know they're putting native plants in there and everything. The low water. And I'm gonna have that fence extended. That's planning on. So soon we'll have it demolished. We're kind of already set back, so.
Okay. Yes, Gary.
I have a letter in my file, if anyone is interested, from this community group asking the city to finally remove the mock building in the next 18 months. In 1995.
Since back then.
The property was taken by the city in the 80s to demolish, so the state always does not, so that doesn't work.
Okay, next up is standing committees. At this point, we're 10 minutes behind. So first up is the Joint Mid-City Communities Plan Update Committee. Greg, you attended the last one.
That's pretty much that. The essence of it is coming up with our issues in the next meeting, coming to work to find them. No one at the city was present.
Okay, thanks. Caltrans grant submission, that's pending award in September. We'll find out then if we get the money from Caltrans or not. But in the meantime, we have 3 gardeners that have volunteered to assist with permit approvals, detailed planning, and setting up some bylaws on the usage of the garden. This is for a very small space on Cherokee.
Over there.
Apparently we'll have water to go to it coming soon.
Yeah. Right. DEI program, I think, Scott, you had mentioned earlier about sending out the advertising to support that.
Yes, yeah. And we do get analytics like the age, and people replying and stuff.
Okay. Tree replacements. Greg, anything on that?
I'll let Gerald see. We were all kind of going through it and learning some stuff. Emily was reaching out to government contacts. But I know for myself, I've kind of lost a little momentum on it. But Gerald took on attending a meeting. Gerald, if you're online still, do you want to talk about
Sure. Yeah. So I guess is it a Brown Act violation when they publish the wrong address for their meetings? For the arborists? That you don't attend and they just
Might be, but
yeah, they say so sorry. Yeah, so I tried to attend a meeting, but they published the wrong address. Couldn't get a hold of anybody. So we're going to try again later. But we met and we kind of talked about what we want. You know, the three of us met and kind of talked about what we would like to bring up in front of the city arborist group and try to find out what's going on. We may need to get a multiple attendees to speak because they will only give us 3 minutes to talk in front of them. So that's something we got to do, but I'm hoping we'll have a little more time here coming up and try to schedule another meeting here with our group and kind of circle up and where we want to go. But we're trying to approach, see if we can work with the arborists and see where they're at with their current study. I don't know if Ben might know where the city is at with the arborist study and when that's going to be released to the city council. That would be great to know. Is Ben there?
yes, he said he would find out.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of go from there. I'm gonna try to attend the next meeting coming up in August and see if we can participate with that one and try to get some headway.
Excellent, thank you. Accept traffic issue task force, Alan.
Okay, good news. I don't know if anybody has seen them yet, but we have new stop signs, Cherokee and Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Cherokee and Madison. I don't know who got them up. It might have been Ben, but they're there now. They just got put in today, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so hopefully that will solve some of the issues right there. In addition, I heard back from the engineer I was talking to at the city about the crosswalk that we've been asking for across West Mountain View at Adams. And he initially had told me that he did a study and it doesn't qualify. He got back to me probably after he talked to Ben, I think. And it turns out that in 2020, a previous study had been done that says it qualifies, so it was on an unfunded needs list. I believe Ben might have some more information about that.
Yeah, so it was actually, thank you for moving me up for that. Yeah, so the transportation department did do a traffic evaluation along Mountain View Drive, and for the most part didn't find many traffic calming, didn't find many points where traffic calming met the qualifications. However, they did reinforce that Adams and West Mountain View Drive did qualify. So right now our office is looking at a number of those crosswalks, the flashing crosswalks, that we're hoping to see if we can get funded within the next year. That doesn't mean they're going to get installed within the next year, but trying to secure funding so they can actually, you can actually see them implemented into the neighborhoods.
Is that crosswalk on the bridge side or on the gas station side?
Between the gas station and the bridge. From the gas station to the bridge.
West Mountain View, not crossing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, crossing West Mountain.
From Shell to Cheesecake. Yep. No. From Shell to the bridge.
Shell to bridge. Okay.
Shell to Cheesecake.
To get to the bus stop on the other side?
No.
That's next year.
One crosswalk at a time.
We get what we can get. We got stop signs at Cherokee and Madison.
It's good. I won't reconfirm because I was under the impression it was across Adams, but I'll double check. That would be great.
Yeah, it seems like why would you need a crosswalk where there's a stop sign?
I think
They're already
it's
stuck there anyway, so they
cross
can't cross the
I
street.
think cars, they fly right out of there, fly in and out.
It's the width of North Mountain View that is the problem. The width.
Oh, he's right back. That's.
Yeah, it's so wide. I mean, it must be like 60 feet there. I don't know. It's wider than Adams Avenue. Right there.
It really
gas
is.
station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the business association's asked a few times over the years for traffic studies, and we always ask for West Mission, we had a drawing once with pedestrian rest staying in the middle of the street.
We can get paleo treats on with their unicorn crosswalk. Yeah.
I do have some requests in to try to get copies of whatever documents they have regarding that. And also, I'm trying to get a copy of the unfunded needs list. So we'll see if we can get that. And because that would be helpful, because if we have other stuff on that list already, you know, we're already 20% of the way there to actually getting something started.
Maybe we could have input on what is prioritized too.
Right.
So I have a question. So Ben, the result, I think I heard you say this morning at the business association meeting. The result of the speeding study on Mountain View was that the city didn't find a lot of speeding.
Yeah.
But
I can send you all the language that we got sent from transportation, so you have that, the way they do their calculations in terms of 80th percentile of folks that are speed. I don't want to speak incorrectly, so I'll send those to all this and out to everyone. You can see their preliminary findings. And it sounds like Alan's trying to get the full evaluation that was done, so that should also give you some full insight.
so traffic engineers, their recommendation, there was no safety recommendations except for the lit crosswalk across Mountain View at
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that there was an 85th percentile cutoff. And you sent me that document, right? Okay, then I've already forwarded that to Alan.
Do you know, sorry,
Okay.
do you know the results of the Kensington, traffic study that was done around the time after the accident?
I think I heard my colleague, I don't remember which project it was, but it also qualifies for a flashing crosswalk as well, which is why we're trying to push for both of them to get funded.
That, there was a hidden agenda buried in my question, and that is Adams is a long street, and whatever is problematic in Kensington is likely also problematic in Heights and all the way to Freedom.
Okay. And we do have 5 lighted crosswalks that were all installed in the last 6, 7 years, something like that.
I still recommend looking both ways.
Yes. Yeah. We got it really quick.
Jump ahead. Yes. Okay. And we missed an item here, 17 historical property review. Dan.
The only thing I saw was City Heights. It doesn't help us right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Parks and Trail Development, we don't have any representation there yet. Last item on the agenda, and there will be one other item that I need to bring up, community engagement poll. We discussed that earlier about doing the community poll, so that's been covered. For our next meeting, which will be August 11th, I will be out of town, so the board gets to decide if you want a substitute teacher or recess.
Alan's
Yeah, I want to do that. As a Friday.
August 8th, okay. August 8th.
Technically, the first Tuesday is
August 1st, yeah. The
Not
first
to be
August.
only on the calendar.
Either way, I'm out of town.
So, I move that the planning group take August 1st, the first Tuesday of the month, and not meet.
We have a second?
I'll second.
The only problem with that is our letter. So as long as we can get that squared away without meeting it.
We can do that offline since there's no public vote needed on it. Okay.
Well, I didn't hear, are we proposing a vacation?
Yes.
So great, we are.
I move that we do not meet in August.
I move that we meet in Hawaii.
I move that the planning group paid for this meeting in Hawaii.
Yeah, Francis says.
Oh, see, there we go.
Yeah, Francis denies. Okay, so take us to a vote. All in favor of skipping August. Great, we will meet again in September. Thank you.
Question about that.
Yeah.
Since I'm the new guy looking at people that want to join us, we are skipping a meeting. How does that?
I think if there's somebody who's attended one meeting and they're looking for one more before September, just show up at the September and make that your second meeting.
We need to adjourn.
My words. Great. Thank you.
We should adjourn?
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thank you.